Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And first of all, I'd just like to apologise for being unable to be here for the first few minutes of this debate, and in particular because I think the debate this afternoon has been so positive and very enjoyable. The spirit of celebration and consensus is perhaps particularly appropriate for the day before recess. I'd also like to warmly congratulate my honourable friend for Cheadle on an excellent maiden speech. He knows probably better than most people that Patsy will be a very hard act to follow, but I have confidence that he will do so well, and welcome him to this House. I felt that today's debate could perhaps benefit from a Scottish perspective. As many members will know, there's been a great deal of support in Scotland for the London Olympic bid. The Scottish Executive have supported the bid team. Many of the polls conducted among the Scottish public have shown a high degree of support also for the bid. And generally, certainly in this House, there's been a lot of cross-party support among Scottish MPs for the bid, with the possible exception of the Scottish Nationalist Party. Although perhaps, as we heard this afternoon, even the SNP may still be convinced of the benefits to Scotland. I, for one, am certainly convinced that Scotland will benefit greatly from the Olympic Games coming to London. As members may know, Hampden is set to be one of the locations used for the football tournament, and Glasgow in particular is an ideal location for this because of the intense passion for football within the city. Rangers and Celtic football matches always provoke a lot of cheering and high spirits whenever they play each other. Therefore, it's an ideal location, perhaps even to kick off the football tournament, which will start in advance of the main opening of the Olympics, and I would hope that the organisers of the Games would consider that option. It's also a national place to hold sporting tournaments. The Special Olympics were held in Glasgow just in early July and were a great success, and partly because the city has a reputation for being very friendly and good at hospitality. Of course, Scotland also has a national treasure in the Tartan Army, which are famed for travelling around the world to support the football team. And indeed, in France at the World Cup in 1998, were very much loved by the French people and endeared a great amount of affection. However, at the last World Cup, people were unable to see the Tartan Army in such numbers because, unfortunately, Scotland hadn't qualified. So, however, we Scots have also learnt to lose with good humour, and I think that is an important thing to be able to do within sport. And certainly, in many cases, it's the taking part and the enjoyment that is also as important. My honourable friend for Bath mentioned when he spoke earlier about the way that sport can unite the nation. And I was reminded that even sports that aren't usually on the front pages or the back pages of newspapers, sports that don't usually get a lot of publicity and generate a lot of interest, even such sports can unite the nation. And just recall perhaps the Winter Olympics when, like many others, I went into the office to work the next day and found that everybody had been up until the small hours of the morning watching the curling team with their victory. Not a sport that you would usually expect the masses to be interested in, but just an example of how sport can really unite people and get their enthusiasm going. Obviously, there are huge economic benefits that are likely to occur across the UK. And David Williams, the Chief Executive of Events Scotland, has estimated that this benefit will run into hundreds of millions of pounds for Scotland alone. Obviously, this involves in training camps being set up, attracting teams to come and prepare for the Games, and Scotland is well placed to do this. Sports facilities of international standard, for example, the Scotstoun Stadium, which is international standard badminton and athletics, Strathclyde Country Park with its rowing lake, even over in Edinburgh, the Tollcross Olympic swimming pool, all of these I'm sure will act as great attractions. And indeed in my own constituency of Eastern Bartonshire, we have a £14 million world-class training complex for a Rangers football club, Murray Park, based in Mulgai. So Scotland has these world-class facilities up to international standards, and I'm sure this will help Scotland through the London Olympics to attract teams from around the world to benefit the economy. As other members have mentioned, the Games are also likely to act as an inspiration to achieve sporting excellence within the UK. Now, not all members can claim the experience of my fellow Scot and right honourable friend, the member for North East Fife, of being able to have participated in an Olympics as a competitor, However, I'm sure we all share the desire to see young people raise their ambitions to become Olympic champions in 2012. Last week, in fact, two young constituents of mine, David and Stephanie, came along to the House of Commons with their parents for a visit. And after the tour, where they learned all about the history, I was having a chat to them outside. And they were expressing that they're keenly interested in sport. And of course, the conversation turned to the Olympics. And the excitement, really, that if they persevere and they train hard, that it might even be possible that they too could compete in the Olympics, not just in the Olympics, but in the Olympics in the UK. I think this acts as a wonderful motivation for young people taking part in sport. Indeed, Andy Murray, who is fresh from doing Scotland and Britain proud at Wimbledon, he himself has said that the thought of playing Olympic tennis at Wimbledon with the backing of the crowd would be perfect. And I also think that would be perfect indeed if it put us in with a shot of the medals in tennis. In addition to the economic benefits which would surely arise from the training camps, there is also the issue of tourism, which needs to be looked at very, very seriously. And we need to be careful to ensure strategies are in place to encourage people to use their visit to London, perhaps for the Olympics, to also then go and visit other parts of the UK. Now, the central belt of Scotland is just 5 hours on the train or an hour on the plane from London, even if that's a slightly less environmentally friendly way to travel. And it's a little longer to get to the north of Scotland or the Wild West Highlands or the islands, but it really is well worth a trip. And there are many areas across the UK which would fall into that category. I think that we do need to get better at stimulating tourism across the UK from when people do come to London. And I think back to my time when I was studying in London and sharing a flat with students from America and Southeast Asia and around the world. I often felt like a bit of an outreach of the Scottish Tourist Board, because very often the attitude was that, well, yes, I've seen London, I've been to the UK, I've done the UK, and to actually open people's horizons and say, well, actually, London's fabulous, but there's so much more on offer in the reaches of England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. Really, I think we need to make sure that we're very much on the ball with encouraging that. The UK obviously is a diverse, rich network of communities, and there must be some new inventive ways that we can spark interest in tourism to other areas. So I'd just like to conclude by saying, obviously, we need to maximise these fabulous opportunities, and that this is a fabulous opportunity for London, Scotland and the rest of the UK. Many congratulations to everyone that's been involved in it.